2:30,
Okay,
and we have a roll call. We know who's here. And public comment. Is there anyone listening in that would like to make a comment?
No, not this afternoon.
There are none. Okay, the approval of the minutes, July 18th. Do you have any problem with the minutes?
no, I have no problem.
And neither do I, and I've signed.
Oh, there they are.
And the review of the general fund share plan. There are a couple of things on here. You know, like 5,000 for tree trimming, and is that I know what tree trimming is, but do you have like a contract and that covers all the tree trimming, or is this a specific amount of work?
This was, we have in our budget, we put aside
Yeah.
for every zone. So this
Right.
is the last part of the last fiscal year, tree trimming for zone. So we're done with the tree trimming. So that's the annual, part of the annual.
This wasn't part of that, as I recall, this was one of those trees that went down block.
Oh, okay. See, that's the
Yeah.
The board
Right.
meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
I know that the 5,000 was, it's a round number because they called them out and they
Right.
said it's gonna be $5,000.
Yeah, right. That's what I was asking really, is why
Well, yeah, you're probably right, but I'll look, the only thing is, though, is I've got
It's just one
segregated into zones, so
Yeah.
why would it be two zones if it's one
Oh,
tree?
That's
So it could be both, it could be part of both, so I'll take a look at it.
Okay. And we had to prepay the 5,000 here. This is the first payment on the audit?
No, this is for last year's audit done by our third party provider, Nyhart,
Okay,
for last year's audit.
okay,
And what I'm hoping what I got out of our new auditors is that's something they're gonna be able
Oh,
to
okay,
take care
very
of.
good,
Right.
So that's a
That
good
would be
thing.
good.
That's my
Yes.
understanding.
Okay.
Right, I saw that too.
And this relates to those benefits that we provide to retired employees.
yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Employment benefits is what that stands
And
for.
part of the state controller report now is that you have to have a separate audit on things that you're giving to people that don't work for you
Right,
Okay, okay,
anymore. And so
Right.
these are the retirees that
Okay.
get their health benefits.
right, okay.
Or
And then-
it's the Medicare.
yeah. Then I see that the CalPERS payment went up to 105,000. It used to be in the high 90s.
Yeah.
It went up, and that is Classic and Pepra now. It's very small, but Pepra's
Okay,
carrying unfunded liability now too.
okay.
So, and we did take advantage of the discount too, so it was even.
Yeah,
I would say
understood.
It would be even
Right,
higher.
but last year I think was about 97.
Yeah, you're about right.
That's well, that I saw, that's high. That
And
seems
we
like a
need
lot.
to, as part of this first thing, that, I mean, I'm a Pepra and I don't want to be a Pepra, okay, because I used to be Classic.
Right, right,
So my personal feeling is that the very few, like me,
Uh-huh.
who were Classic and were denied to come back Classic, all right?
okay,
We were told that we were paying the price and taking less benefits because CalPERS was going to reform the system and that the Pepra people would be pay as you go, all right?
Mhm.
There wouldn't be any of these unfunded liabilities.
right,
And then like 2 years ago, we get a bill and I said to Teresa, that
shouldn't be
can't
like
be.
that.
And if that's what the cost is for my retirement,
Mhm.
and some of it comes out of my check, well, then let's jack it up in my check. I don't want an unfunded liability.
Right,
Okay, and I'm
right.
paying the price because I'm not gonna get the
Scary.
benefits
That's
that
right.
my colleagues got,
Right.
all right? Anyway.
But we were
it
talking
irritates me.
with Nigro, we were saying, we're asking them questions about the unfunded liability for CalPERS.
Right,
And it was like, they indicated you don't need to pay off that amount.
they said this isn't the right time to do it. They
Okay.
didn't say you shouldn't.
It's just not the right
It's just
time.
not the right time
Okay.
because of the financial situation, et cetera, et cetera. They said that there may be a time in the future, but right now, you shouldn't do it.
However, my take on that conversation in the
Mhm,
interview,
mhm.
what's the leader's name?
Kmart, all Kmart.
That's right.
Paul's gonna get re-educated here because his answer would have applied to like a city or a water district, something like that,
Mhm.
that has a flow of income
Right,
that continues to grow.
right.
He's gonna find out.
Right,
Okay?
not.
No.
We gotta run this place totally
Right,
different.
right.
That's
Because
right.
money doesn't just fall out of the sky.
No, it doesn't.
And so I suspect once he becomes our auditor the first year, and we revisit that topic,
Right.
it's gonna be a little bit different.
Okay.
That
Yeah, I think so.
we really need to be more careful with our
Right.
unfunded liability.
Mhm.
And he's absolutely right. If you're a city and you're keep raising
Yeah,
sales
you're
tax and
not
all
gonna
that.
go on
Yeah,
infinitum.
why worry about it?
Sure.
You'll deal with it the day it all comes home to roost, and they're hoping that it won't.
Mhm.
But if that day happens here.
Yeah, that's not a good
that could be
situation.
a real problem.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so while we're doing this annual payment, that's
Uh-huh.
the bare minimum
That's
that we can pay. So to
Right.
keep it going,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
anyway.
Anything else on that?
No, I don't see anything.
I have one.
What do you have?
It is the very first one, and I questioned this. What is this, Teresa
I
Snyder?
know, you see
Oh.
my name all over the place here. What am I doing?
Okay, you know how.
For
when
electrical work and new chair.
I'm an electrician now, didn't you? Thank you.
Yeah, so I dug into this, what is this? And this is the tip of the iceberg of a problem that we've had for about 2 years.
Okay,
Where somebody brought in one of our checks. And they tried to copy a check to some vendor. This used to happen all the time. But, we paid somebody, they copied his signature, okay, and made it out to themselves for like 15 grand. And the bank caught it,
okay.
and didn't pay them the 15 grand.
Oh, I
And
hope
looked
not.
at it and said, this is a copy of some other check. And De La Sandry didn't sign it, okay?
Right.
That was all proven. The problem is in the banking system, because they don't want any liabilities,
Mhm.
they said, from now on, you have to double verify every check. So every day,
By 11.
Teresa and I get an
By
email
11 o'clock.
for any check that you guys have signed,
Right.
and we have to clear it
Okay,
and verify
all
every
amounts.
single check.
Okay,
Well, it has to be by 11 o'clock.
Indeed, morning.
And I may be, at home, I may be at a meeting.
I'm sick,
and I'm
I got
directing
busy
it,
on something
And
else.
I'm calling Jessica, let's send my thing to Teresa, she's off today, how are we clearing those 2 checks? Sometimes they bounce. So she's gotta go around and make it good with the vendor and say, put it back through, we'll clear it, like we're deadbeats, right? And I've been yelling about this with the bank. And anyway, they wouldn't help us. They wouldn't say, okay, we're gonna take you off that system. So Teresa, tell your story. How did you fix it? And it just happened.
Well,
Okay.
you'll see 2 made out to me that have a PP
yes.
by it. That means positive pay, where it got returned. So this first one, the $700 one, we
Yeah,
had a new guy changing out our electrical ballasts in the hallway here.
right,
And I bought a new chair for my office.
right.
Well, those 2 checks got returned and I didn't want to look, I felt so bad for the electrician.
Right.
I went to my bank and I just got cash
And just,
and I
okay.
paid
That
for
makes
everything. So that's why that.
Well, why did they bounce?
If we don't physically go online
And clear it.
and clear
Then
it,
they just
double
won't,
clear it.
they won't go through, period.
They
Any
will
of the
go, no,
checks.
it gets returned, and it doesn't say insufficient funds, it says refer to maker. So I needed this first time using this electrician, I felt like, okay, we're not deadbeats, I promise. So anyway, that was I'm going
I've
ready.
never heard of
Like,
such a thing.
do you want me to tell how we fixed it?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so anyway, as of now, in my accounting software,
Uh-huh.
I can download a data report every time I do a check run to the bank and it goes automatic and it clears them all. So today was the first day of the check run last week. I can see them all clearing. So that should never happen again. We've got a method for.
So you don't have to basically approve it by 11 in the morning?
No, but by me sending that data file
Right.
with all the checks I'm seeing are good, they're gonna automatically clear
Okay.
them all. So we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have to do that.
Oh, my.
You don't know, like, I'm looking, so many times I'm working on something, I go, oh no, it's 10:55, and I'm like trying to go, good, but you know, just, it happens sometimes for whatever reason.
Okay,
Anyway, we're
where's the
done with
other
that.
one?
The first
Okay.
one, and then,
Reimburse.
the
oh,
ones,
there it is,
my
yeah.
cell phone check allowance got returned.
I
So
see.
I don't care about
Okay,
me,
yeah.
but that's just reimbursing for that.
Sure,
So
sure.
Anyway, that's it.
Oh, my
We
goodness.
should get a gold star for running to the bank, paying the poor man
I
who's
know.
working up in
Yeah.
the attic trying to fix our electrical.
I swear we have money in the bank.
Oh, my
Okay,
goodness.
anything
Okay.
about the staffing recommendations?
Yes,
Well, we talked about it, before. and
Yeah.
It's still a work in progress.
okay.
But what they recommended to me at first.
They,
Who's they?
being, Teresa and Jessica.
Right.
Okay,
That if Teresa were to, well, so Jessica is like, so you're gonna bring somebody else in here. And I'm not an accountant, okay?
Right.
Jessica's listening here, so we're all here. You can answer any questions you want, correct me. That would make more sense if we simply had Jessica, who knows the operations here,
mhm,
work under Teresa on two functions that commonly are delegated to people who don't have an accounting background.
mhm.
One being payroll, because
Right.
every company has somebody processing payroll.
True,
Doesn't mean they're trained in accounting. Okay, you
Right.
need to be trained, but it's pretty much routine
sure.
and you don't have to do debits and credits and
Mhm.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and he doesn't mean just
Understand.
getting the payroll, not doing the IRS, the
Right,
EDD,
right, right,
and the
right.
cal, that stuff,
Leave
just
that
getting
to
it
the
out.
accountant,
Right,
yeah,
okay?
Yeah,
And the other is the payables.
Right.
Because.
It
most
takes
of
a
the-
lot of-
what's that noise?
that's my phone.
Oh.
Someone's texting me, driving me crazy. I can turn it off.
Well,
That's
the
my-
other is payables,
Right.
and we're a little bit lax here about payables because Teresa knows what I would approve. So as these are coming in, bills from vendors or whatever, sometimes I'm not the first to see them, all right? In a larger organization, and the way I've always done it, is it goes to like the person what's up to Teresa say, and it's coded with where this gets charged to. Then it goes nowhere further until it hits my desk.
Right,
And
okay.
then I say that, I approve this, or like I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
I remember telling Dustin it was okay to spend this money, and I sign it off. Then at that point, it goes to accounts payable, and they actually prepare it to
Right,
make the payment,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be electronic.
and that's what Jessica will be doing.
And we could route that over to her because it's time consuming.
Sure it is.
So we were looking at things, or
Okay.
they were, and this was their plan, that we could offload Teresa on some of the more minor accounting assignments. And those are just two, but there's probably other things related to FEMA. And then this whole trash thing. Because our plan was we would give that person, the new person,
Mhm.
responsibility for all that. And I'm constantly, I mean, with it every meeting, there's one or two emails where they're trying to get all of us up to speed about you have to take this webinar in order to know how to process the Z report that you have to do every week, which is coming January 1.
Right.
So there's just and I've
You
been
think it will?
told-
Because,
there's a lawsuit and some other things, so I'm working with Ward as we speak.
okay,
There's a lawsuit that went to the California Supreme Court that affects that. And whether or not we can pass that off on you guys,
Mhm.
the consumer, which means consumer in government talk is taxpayer.
Mhm.
And does that violate Prop 13? That we're raising the administrative part of your trash bill for this third position, okay, to do all the administrative work.
Mhm.
So the California Supreme Court, through an Oakland case with citizens of Oakland, they've been doing this, and their bill went up a lot of money.
Right.
They didn't contest the trash pickup portion,
Right, just
but
the-
they contested the
Right.
amount going to the city of Oakland to administer the program.
Okay.
And they're saying that the taxpayer should have,
final say on that.
fine. And so it went through the system, got to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you're absolutely right. That city of Oakland part
Mhm.
needed to go to the ratepayers or the citizens. So they remanded the case back to the trial court to make Oakland prove that they don't have to go to the voters. Because if they're covering and can prove that they hired all these new people and that the cost of those new people was exact to making this program,
Mhm.
then the trial court's supposed to hold in favor and that you don't have to go to the voters,
Mhm.
okay? But now that's another year probably
Mhm.
before that whole trial thing
Now,
goes through.
if they have to go to the voters and the voters turn it down,
Your program done. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know, because it could be you just have to take it out of existing funds.
But see, we can't
We can't.
because our funds are restricted to certain purposes
That's right.
and it's not trash.
That's right.
So this is what I've
But
been,
there is a certain portion related to administration. This is administration, not trash. You could argue that.
well, and that's what, you have not gotten us a final staff report or recommendation on how to do this program.
Right,
And I've got it planned for September.
okay,
Okay.
Because you met with the people on the screen
Yeah.
4 months ago. And the conclusion was, let's look at legislation to clarify that rural areas of
Mhm.
2,500 people
Mhm.
don't have to do this. And
I
this is
know.
why.
Yeah.
But their interpretation of the bureaucracy of the state, not the legislature, is interpreting that you don't get the exemption because of the way they count
Right.
people.
Right.
And so we could go back to the legislature, who isn't given any, haven't made any statement on it. Get a bill that clarifies what a rural exemption is,
Yeah.
and that's 7,000. We've talked to the state, is it controller, Jessica? Those guys that do population counts?
It's the, no,
It's not.
no, it's not,
It's another agency
right,
within the state
Mhm.
that, on every other state program, population is, State Department of Finance.
Okay.
And they have a unit that I've dealt with in the past, way back in my history. And so we called them up and said, we got this problem. Can you make an official estimate of our population? And they looked at it. Jessica talked to them, found them for me. And then they looked and they said, you're pretty close to 2,500, okay? And I said, so would you say that? And they said, we're not allowed to do that. We do it for cities, counties, but for districts or areas in dispute,
Mhm.
we're allowed, if you pay for it, we can give you an official estimate of the State Department of Finance. So that was the ticket. If you wish to go the legislative route, that we would simply say that the definition of rural is what California Department of Finance, just like they determine what the city populations are, what the
Right.
county populations are. And I think we could probably get that through the legislature.
Mhm.
But Ward and I are working on that
Okay.
as we speak.
What makes you think you can get it through the legislature?
Only because, well, I don't think the legislature, because there's a lot of rural, of the legislature. And, they generally protect rural. I mean, and that's why there is a rural exemption. They didn't define it in the law, but, the law that created this organic waste.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But when they wrote the regulations, they put an admit, 7,000 rural exemption. And but most likely, they did that to appease
Yeah, to ameliorate the rural people, that's right.
Yeah, assembly people and senators and.
Sure.
and,
But getting legislation through, as you know, is not an easy process.
No, it's not
And
easy.
even though, even in this case, for example, I mean, there's so many possibilities that could make this not happen, you know, somebody, first of all, we're all Republican here. That's number one. Number two, you need almost all the rural areas are Republican. So
See,
probably.
that's a good point. I forgot. You're right.
And
And there's no votes.
that's right. But even, and what happens is, as you know, the thing gets, it needs to be something that you need a champion, a real important person as a champion.
And you can't be.
That's right.
Public.
That's right. Well, even if it is a Republican, there may be something where they want those votes and they would trade this for it. But it has to be somebody that has some standing, and I'm not sure we have anybody around here that has any standing at this point.
Well, I am in the process of doing a meeting, there's a meeting with the lobbyist for BB&K.
Mhm.
Now, we didn't use him,
Correct.
and it was somewhat different at that time. We went with a different lobbyist on our bill for
Right.
gas tax. What I'm trying to discern is how connected is he
Yeah, right.
to the majority party?
Right.
Because we could use him, BB&K, because we're a client,
Mhm.
is not gonna be as expensive as, and he's not a lawyer, he's a lobbyist, okay? But he's not gonna be as expensive as a lobbyist on the street in Sacramento, I'm hoping. Because, you know, they want our business for a long time, not just, you know, get as much as they can out of us for this bill, one-shot deal. And then there's a few other lobbyists I've used in the past who are very connected with the majority party.
Okay, but what I don't understand, Jim, is the fact that our census tract includes areas that are not, so that's why they're saying you have to comply with this bill.
Because
All
it
right.
depends on how you read the sentence. If you read it a different way.
Yeah.
We don't have to
But
comply at all.
But the finance department or whoever's saying we're okay. So you're looking at it two different ways. You know.
Because we're also preparing for, if you choose to not comply, which you're gonna have to, because the new legislature doesn't start until December. On January 1st, we will be out of compliance, and in
And then
theory,
we're charged.
they can charge.
That's right.
Now, they can't charge our gas fund and or our road fund, and they can't charge our sheriff fund.
Okay.
So we probably, we made it just came in fact, our franchise payment was 68,000 for administration of that franchise. So we have costs to that, okay? So let's assume they would contend that half of that money, 30,000, okay, is available. So that's 3 days of fining us $10,000. This is going to raise the cost to you, the ratepayer, $250,000 a year. It would be cheaper to pay the $30,000 in fines, but then if they go beyond 30,
Right.
because their lawyers are gonna just keep fining, and we're gonna have to say, we don't have to pay because we don't have money.
Right. We're just gonna pay a lot of lawyers.
Either way we go.
Yeah. We're just gonna pay a lot of lawyers. If you go that route, you're gonna have to pay them to fight this in court. And, you know, their pockets have no bottom.
That's exactly right.
You know,
State of California.
that's right. And so, I mean, you know, but I don't think we can afford not to comply unless the legislation well, then we would be in compliance as well if there is legislation. I really think you're right. You really need to assess whether or not this person that you're going to talk to, has the kind of credibility and the right kinds of places to make this happen. And I think the other thing is he may very well, but that doesn't mean it'll happen. And so we want an analysis from him of what it would take and some limit on what we would be charged.
Good point.
We went through this before, and it's just, they say that making legislation is like making sausage. You don't really want to look at it.
So that's what's kind of in progress, and I'll have a better report, like your
Okay.
next finance meeting
Right.
before the next board meeting.
Okay,
Because the other third alternative, and that's what people keep saying that we need to do, is just comply.
Yeah, right.
And we're sorry that it's gonna hurt these folks and cost you guys another $250,000 a year collectively
right.
in trash expense. And there's dangers with putting, another
Right.
truck,
Absolutely.
and the problem with fire and accidents. And these folks in Sacramento, that's why they give them all exemption. So why aren't they interpreting it our way
Mhm.
instead of narrowly their way?
Right.
Okay?
Right,
And theirs makes no common sense, their
No.
interpretation. You're gonna count people, and it says clearly that are in the unincorporated area, well, Marin and Temecula are.
or not. No,
But they don't want to see it that way for whatever reason. And we found, because we did a discovery,
Mhm.
which I think Warren's going to tell them about.
Okay,
And made them give under Records Act.
Mhm.
Okay. Joanna said, we want a copy of everything under Public Records Act related to the rural exemption. There's 6 of us. Okay. But unfortunately, the 6 have already complied. They just rolled over and said, we're not in there. And there's emails between staff members and all this. They understand our position,
Mhm.
okay? And it's not staff emails between each other and the conversations with general managers of other districts and their staff, like the lady that was on.
I have to step out and jump to that. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah, oh, they get it, what our position is, but.
But there are only 6 places.
Yeah,
See, that's another-
Central Coast.
That's another disadvantage we have in terms of, it doesn't affect that many. Why are we going to go through all the trouble? But if you could connect with those people and say, look, if this looks like it's going to go, would you add your support to this? In other words, get in touch with your legislators and see if they,
And that's why she put this in, to see who's out there.
right,
And they wouldn't tell us, and so we got it that way.
right,
And so there's word number 6. And then I checked, I haven't contacted them because I went online and I found out that they just threw in the towel, like what I'm talking about a
Correct.
week ago. And they've started their process up. But how that doesn't mean that they wouldn't support
correct,
our bill so that they could go back.
correct,
the old way.
correct.
And that's why we needed to know. And I haven't done a search to see the majority, minority party of those areas. But my guess is like, except that they're all coastal.
It might be different.
It might be different, but they are rural.
Yeah,
There's places like Cayucas, of the.
Yeah, I've heard of
and,
that.
By Morro Bay. They're either by Morro Bay or they're in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
So now the Bay Area ones, those are all majority seats. So we could perhaps get them, but it's an ideological thing, is that they've determined that everyone in the state of California is gonna do this.
Yeah.
Make no exception.
Mhm.
And now that's on the staff level.
right,
It isn't necessarily coming from the legislature,
Right.
even though the majority, because there's majority represent rural areas too.
right,
Right.
And so that's why I also want to talk to, I know one, that was very, he's the son of I just say it, I use them. They're very connected. And so they'll give me some free advice. And once we kind of define this, because they'll give me free advice if they fully understand what I'm talking about. So
Right.
I've got to really
Right.
explain it. And I'm going to talk to them too and say, what if we hired you, a majority lobbyist? Could you get one of your buddies to sponsor this, co-sponsor with our guys?
Right.
You'd have to have that. And, you know, maybe
Right.
there'll be some trade-offs, you
Right.
know, among them.
Right.
But you get him to be the primary sponsor, him or her, from like the mayor or something.
There needs to be a trade, so.
And how much would that cost?
Yeah, right.
And I think the number is gonna be pretty high,
Yeah,
but you never know. Because there could be something,
the question doesn't cost.
exactly, because there could be something going on that we don't know about. The majority wants in terms of that law, they want to tweak it or make a change or
Right.
something like that. And then he'd say, yeah, I'm working with Assemblyman blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And he's got a bill that, you know, and then he could attach it to that. I think it's unlikely, but if you don't ask the question,
You
you're
don't
not gonna get an answer.
That's right.
So there's the
Okay.
bottom line.
Okay, the last item is, I see we're almost at 1%.
No.
That's pretty good.
Exciting.
But now, what, we didn't really, I don't think we finished the staffing recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
So you're
You're
thinking,
right.
you're thinking of having Jessica do the bills, take on some of Teresa's responsibilities. And then what are you going to do? Bring someone in also?
Yes, and what they presented is me sitting in my office one day. And I said, well, you know, we still haven't finished completely the scanning. It's filing. Remember the old days, the files, this.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had a lady who was doing that, and she worked on the GIS and this and that, and then she left. And so there's still a big filing staff.
Okay.
So I said, I want this done by the end of summer. Get a temp
Mhm.
and let's get this going. So, you know, I kept saying, when's the tenth? When's the tenth? Okay, the filing still needs to be done. And so one day, a couple of weeks ago, they laid this plan on me. And then I said, so when's this later? The final person coming? Well, tomorrow. So tomorrow came and I'm thinking about this idea, right? And Isabel came. Holy smoke. Okay. I mean, she came in and started going like gangbusters.
Mhm.
And even in the afternoon, cleaned the refrigerator because she thought it was messy.
Yeah, she's really sharp.
So, and I said, so we set it up. You come Monday, it's week to week. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, we'll use your people temps for a week. If we like them, we'll bring it back. If we don't, blah, blah, blah. And that was by Thursday,
Mhm.
and I said, are you looking for full-time work?
Yeah.
And she is. And her resume is really good. And she got a brain tumor. She tells me the story.
I'm sorry, I was tickling my throat.
And summer. Anyway, she worked for a long time, big companies, and she was, what's this,
The pharmaceutical company.
pharmaceutical
Yeah,
company.
right here in Temecula.
Abbott?
Not Abbott.
Mhm.
It's- it's-
Abbott.
Yeah, okay, it's the
Yeah.
one right over here.
That's what I
Well,
said.
she worked there for like 5 years and in a pretty responsible job. And so I said, well, what happened? We were gone then for like 2 years. And she goes like this,
Oh,
and
gee.
takes her hair, and there's this huge scar. And then there's a scar here. She got a brain tumor
Mhm.
and had to make the choice. Or no, not that. It was a big, where your artery splits.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, and
And they said,
yeah,
we
she had
can
an
go in
aneurysm.
but there's a high risk,
Mm-hmm.
or you can live with it and we know what's gonna happen, but maybe 20 years, but it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so she chose the surgery and it was successful. But the recovery was a long time. And then she went back to Abbott and they said, we held your job for 6 months, but we, don't have it or something. And so she's out looking. And she said, yeah, I would like to work here. And I said, well, I'm just telling you, there could be a possibility. So let's keep using you week to week.
Okay, good.
And then her husband last week brought COVID home where I'd be introducing her to,
She's been quarantined.
Oh,
So she's back next Monday.
okay.
So I'm thinking maybe take this idea
Mhm.
step by step. And we've told Teresa that she's got to just lock herself in the office
Yeah,
for the next month and get caught up for the
Mhm.
audit.
Mhm.
And then if it all works out, what I'm explaining, it would be kind of an easy transition without. My concern is if I bring in a true accountant,
Mhm.
that there's not enough work.
You're gonna get bored. They're not, if they're worth, like you said, if they're worth their salt, they're gonna say, what, I'm processing payables?
Yeah,
Cause I'm not going anywhere for at least 3 years. So, I mean, it doesn't,
No, it's 5.
5, I think.
yeah, I said 3 minimum.
No,
Probably
it's 5 minimum, but.
Okay, 5. It's 5.
No, yeah.
You know what, you guys, I think you thought I was older than I am. I just look haggard. I'm only 59, so I've still got some work life left in me.
you
So
don't,
anyway, unless I get the lottery.
you don't look older.
Unless I get the lottery. Anyway,
So that's kind of where we're at, but any input or whatever, no
Okay.
decisions, it's really a
Yeah.
board decision. And will eventually go to the committee and the board.
Right, right,
Because it's the addition of another position.
sure.
And a proportion of this, if we go with implementing the new organic waste pickup.
Mhm.
And I have full confidence in Alex, CR and R,
Mhm.
that they can do it.
Right,
And they're gonna do it with 2 trucks instead of 3.
Right.
Sure.
And, but the cost is gonna be quite
It's gonna be
expensive.
expensive. It's
You're
expensive
looking
as
at
it
probably
is.
$30 more a month to do this, because
Yeah.
you're basically doubling the.
That's right. Well, what are we paying now? I'm
think
trying to
it's
remember
around
what I'm
38.
no, 160.
3 months.
Depends on how many barrels you
Yeah.
get.
Well, for
Yeah.
2 barrels, it's about $170.
that's
For
2
3 months.
black barrels.
Yeah.
But you get a black barrel and a gray barrel for the price of 1 black barrel. And both of those go to the same place. So it's not any different,
Yeah,
But it's gonna be, he said another $30, I think. The,
okay.
the issue that you and I talked about there, we don't want to waste too much time on this, is that if they have to do organic every week.
The plan is not, and
Yeah.
it's still a work in progress, how to
Because you
do
keep
that.
your organic stuff around for a couple of
I don't
weeks.
want, no, and
It's
that's,
one of the issues.
that's the food and the yard waste.
Right,
And we fill our barrels every week with all the yard waste.
so I mean, that's
it
gonna be an
may
issue.
not
And then
work.
organic, you can't put them in, you cannot put your scraps in plastic, but I did see, I was looking at all of the stuff, you can get these bags that are
Right.
compostable. to put them in. Yes, yes.
Then you have things like cat litter,
Yeah.
and.
Cat food, I scrape the.
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to run that
And
down.
dog poop.
Yeah,
That's
Anyway,
right.
that's another problem.
that's right. Okay.
Let engineering handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 1% and that's better than 0.3%. So we're on the way up there a little bit.
Yep.
Anything's better than nothing.
Practically nothing,
Well, it is practically nothing. I agree.
We went through this a number of years ago and actually looked at some options at another company that's
We haven't been here yet.
in here, and it's the same thing, and this had an advantage in terms of being able to move money and that sort of thing. so that's why we didn't change it.
Uh-huh.
But, it's, you know, it should be different. There should be options that would allow you to do a little bit better, and they should do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I think
We
so.
should.
They should.
Which I don't quite understand.
I don't understand that. I mean, I know things right now, we're on the uptick again with the markets and
I wonder what the
how long that'll last.
administrative overhead is for this program. That's what I
We'll
would.
find out.
Expensive. But we could, they probably produce an annual report.
Yeah, I think I'll make a note for next meeting.
I mean, if, at the rate they're doing things like that, it should be very low. But it won't be.
But it's the state.
That's right. But it won't be.
It's probably
That's a
got
problem.
an entire office building in Sacramento.
Probably.
If we have to, but it'll be in some kind of report. We can,
Yeah.
You know, get that. And CalPERS, I don't know if you saw that their return on investment was minus
Yes,
1%.
yes.
So if this were the private sector, somebody would have a lot of explaining.
Oh, absolutely.
And they said, well, the volatility in the stock market, give me a break. We don't have our 401ks and stuff. I mean, yeah, we're not making what we want to make, but we didn't go -1.
Yeah,
With all their money that they have -1.
that's pretty bad.
So I suspect when we're up, we're gonna be hearing about that.
Mhm. Probably
Because,
so.
these big agencies, you know, that were these funded outrageously high or big, I can't imagine them not going in on CalPERS board and saying, it's
What are you
going
doing?
on.
That's right. That's
Why
right.
don't you just invest in CDs at 1%? At least it's plus
Yeah.
one, not
Yeah,
minus.
not minus. I know.
It's incredible.
Yeah. You know, it's, what do they invest in actually? You know?
Well, we
Just
know
a
what
lot
they invest in,
Yeah, we know.
but I don't know what
This
they.
one is the way.
CalPERS or
So
some,
it's highly political now.
okay.
So there's a lot of investment. Give you an example, Central Africa,
Mhm.
because they don't invest. And this is the board fights, and the elections are very controversial. But there's a segment of the board, and it's the majority of the board that still believes that you do social justice with
Mhm.
our purse money.
Mhm.
And so those aren't paying so good.
No.
Historically haven't, and a
No.
lot of, you know, they have foreclosures on buildings and stuff.
Yeah, they have, I looked at what they had one time. They have a lot of real estate.
Oh, a
in
lot.
there. A lot. I
You
could
wanna
not
build a
believe it.
skyscraper in New York City, PERS will probably fund it. That's the kind of things that are, but you know, they're so big, they're the 8th largest investment pool in the world.
Mhm.
So the idea of, or what I looked at it once, it's not bad. I mean, their investment portfolio by type,
Right,
but it's where in the world they're
They're
putting it.
putting it. That's
And
right.
so a skyscraper in New York City, you're never gonna lose any money on that thing. So it's a great investment, right? But in Nairobi,
Yeah, it's not so good.
and that's where they're foreclosing, and that's the criticism,
Mhm.
that they shouldn't be doing social justice with the CalPERS.
Well, with people, they're playing with people's retirement. That's what they're doing, and that's wrong.
Yeah, and it's very, super political, okay, the whole PERS thing, the board, you know. But the latest is a year ago, they fired the chief investment officer.
Okay.
And what he was doing is he was putting investments, like cash investments in hedge funds with he was the CIO, so he didn't have anybody to have to sign on. And it just so happened that by investing in that hedge fund, he personally made 50 million.
Oh,
Yeah, because he was involved in that
Mhm.
personally,
Mhm.
okay? So that violated the law. I mean, one of his
Sure
workers
did.
Blew the whistle on him. But you know what his job was before that? Is he was the investment officer for the PRC, People's Republic of China. And the executive director of CalPERS hired him because he was the best qualified person in the world. In his prior job, he worked for the Communist Party, Dusty Goodman. So it was all in the Wall Street Journal and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then, you know, 3 days later, we forgot about it. But it, you know, if you work there on the high end,
Mhm.
I mean, that would, it would be a more fascinating job than the US State Department. Because they're, you know, constantly, you know, in the world, it's a world organization.
Right.
And the CEO is a graduate of high school. She's attended one college class
Marcy
in
Frog?
creative writing.
Really?
This is all in the news.
How'd she get to be CEO?
Yeah, I would like to know
How
that.
do you answer that question? She was the head of a retirement program in the state of Washington.
How did she even become that?
We don't know. But we get a newsletter every month from the employees group, the retired employees. And you know, they're old codger like me, you know, they've kind of been around the block.
Sure.
So reading their anti-CalPERS
Mhm.
administration, right?
Mhm.
And they're involved in these board elections and they put up candidates of retirees and this and that. So that's where we learn this, but it's political, this is their view, so, and they don't go too far about the question, how did Marcy Frost get hired?
Mhm.
But she's a very attractive 45-year-old.
Oh, is she?
Go figure.
Well, I would assume CalPERS would be some old guy like me with a cane, you know, and all that. Yeah, I don't
Not that
know.
old.
She's-
Yeah, I'm older than you.
You would expect.
Yeah.
Okay, any other matters to be brought before the committee? Not,
No?
we are adjourned.
Okey-doke.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.